Well, good morning, good afternoon, good night, good evening, wherever you are in the world. You're welcome to the today's topic. Opening is the new closing, and I'll talk quite a bit more about that. But it's your key to selling successfully in the 2020s, which is where we are at right now. So I welcome you all, and I'm glad that you could be here with me and share these things. Now, please, I want you to ask questions, and I want you to ask questions. And when you do ask questions, please put your first name in first, so that I know who's asking the question and I can respond to you personally. Right. So, look, I want to just, for those that can't stay around right to the end, for those who want to have to leave a bit early, I've just put the CTA in here. So what I'll be talking about is how you can engage with your customers better by opening better and not closing better. And if you want to see how well prepared you are for that paradigm, then please take a screenshot right now and have a look at peterstrohkorb.com/sales acceleration. There's a free 10-minute self-assessment there where you can actually determine just for yourself just how close you are to the ideal. I really recommend you do it. And I also want you to have a look at the attachments, because there's a whole bunch of goodies there for you right now. All right, so let's see how we go. Look, this is a couple of my clients that I've taught within 6 weeks on how to open better and how to better engage with their clients. And this is what they said happened sort of pretty much right away for them. So just have a quick look at that, and I'll give you a chance to do that. All right, so you see it pays to do it this way. And this is something that came out of the research that I conducted just recently. And on LinkedIn, you'll find the report there. And it tells you that the hardest part of the sales cycle is now not the closing, but the opening. And also, technology has made it really easy for us to reach our ideal customers, but that doesn't mean that we're engaging with them. In quite a lot of cases, it means that we're actually ambushing them, either inadvertently or deliberately. It depends. Now, I just want to show you a couple of LinkedIn polls that substantiate that claim. And that is, here's one that's not from me. Oh no, actually, this is one of mine. And this was at the height of the pandemic, and I asked the question, what's the best way forward now for businesses? And everybody, 100%, agreed that doing the same thing or hibernating is not the solution, and that we need to adapt to the new world, to the new paradigm, to the new way that things are done, and update our sales strategy and adapt. So that's pretty straightforward. The next one is this one. I actually asked this question. I said, look, where is your biggest trouble, salespeople and sales leaders? And quite a few responded, and more than half said that they're struggling really at the top of the funnel. Yeah. So I'd like you to type in now, please, into the question field, whether that applies to you as well. So you can just say top, middle, or bottom. Just type that into the field there, and we'll have a look at what you're saying. So make it a bit interactive, and I'll just I'll just do that. Okay, good. So let's go. So let's go straight into, what do customers expect from us now? And that is that they don't want us to sell to them. Now, I've said that they haven't been wanting for us to sell to them for a long time, but what they now, during the post-pandemic and during the pandemic, what they really hated was to be ambushed with a sales pitch. Nobody likes to receive spam emails. Nobody likes to receive unsolicited and let me say uninformed cold calls. And certainly nobody likes to be connected with somebody on LinkedIn only for the next contact then to be a sales pitch. So what they want is for you to empathize with your buyers and to work with them, not sell to them. And so you've seen you see a couple of bullet points there that basically tell you what you need to do. And they don't want to be sold to, they want to have their thinking challenged. They don't want to have themselves challenged, their person challenged. They want to have their thinking challenged. And they want to be informed and educated and guided. And they want to be helped to make an informed buying decision. So I hope that that all makes sense to you, right? It does make sense to me. But what does that mean for you? As I've said, buyers no longer want to be sold to. And I don't think they ever have, but we kind of got away with it before the pandemic. Now, this is the key here. Always be closing. The old ABC has run its course. Nobody wants to be closed. It's really cheesy. People can see right through it. They don't like to be manipulated. They want to be helped to make an informed buying decision. So you need to sell smarter and not harder. And the key to opening with your prospects is to actually have customer engagement. You know, they need to buy in. And so I'll just do this here. What they want, what they want is for you to intrigue them and get them curious in terms of about what you want to sell. So you want to create what I call the lean forward moment. What do I mean by that? I mean, when you say something to them that makes them lean forward and go, wow, that's really interesting. Tell me more about that. And I keep saying it at that moment when they've said, tell me more, or how does it work for my company, or where have you done it before? Or when they ask you a question about what you're doing, what you're having, what you're selling, at that moment, and only at that moment, have they given you their explicit permission to sell to them. Not before, right? So our job at the top of the sales funnel is actually not to sell. Our job is to intrigue. Just say enough so that they go, oh, that's really interesting, tell me more. So that means whatever you're saying needs to be about them and what's in it for them, and not about you or what you want to sell. So I hope that makes sense. Please say yes or no in the question, just so I know that I'm on the right track here. All right, so back to the slides. So what's the key to it all? And as you will see on the slide here, the key is to move away from focusing on what we're selling and how we're selling to focusing on the buyer and what they are getting out of dealing with us. What's in it for them? The old WIFM. What's in it for us? So we need to focus on the buyer, which I think makes sense to everybody, right? But how do you do that, and why don't we already? So let's have a look at this. This is the, I'm calling it traditional, in inverted commas, sales funnel. Now, did you know that it was invented originally in 1898? Not 1998, no, 1898. So for 120 odd years, we've been using a sales concept that actually stems from a couple of centuries ago and was invented long before the internet. Now, I don't like it because if you look at every one of the sales steps in there, there's nothing there about the customer. It's all about us, about how we want to sell, about how we want to measure the sales process. But the buyer's not buying that way. The buyer's not buying the way that we want to sell. The buyer's buying the way they want to buy. So this inward-looking concept is really outdated because it's not customer focused. It's focused on how we want to sell and what we want to sell. Now, what do we replace it with? Well, if we take the sales funnel, let me illustrate this. So if we take the old sales funnel And so that's how we look at selling. But if we then turn around and we say, how does the buyer look at buying? Then we'll come up with a different model. The funnel will still apply, but it'll look different. It'll feel different for the sellers and for the buyers. And it will actually help the buyer to buy and make it a better buying experience for the buyer and a better selling experience for you as the seller. So let me show you what it looks like. So here is the buyer-focused sales funnel. And what it will do is it will engage better with your customers. It'll accelerate your revenues. It'll be less leaky, so more prospects will actually come through to the bottom where the dollars drop out. And I've called it 10 success points, that really 10 customer points, that 10 touch points with the customer, whatever you want to call it. But there's 10 things in there that we want to do, and I'll elaborate on each of those in a minute. So I just want to say that this, yes, it's a bit of a sales pitch for you, but I really want to show you how you can engage with your customers without being salesy. You can engage with your customers and draw them into a sales conversation or a business conversation that will lead to a sale, rather than hitting them over the head, ambushing them with a pitch right from the start. And I have to say, I did a webinar with Alice Hyman of Miller Hyman fame just recently. And she and I came to the same conclusion. We asked a whole bunch of CEOs and our C-suite executives, how many calls from SDRs do you take every day? You can guess what the answer was. They said 0, none. So then we said, if you take no calls from SDRs, why do you have SDRs calling people like you? It just doesn't make sense, right? We're getting some of the most junior people in the organization to ring some of the most senior people in our customer organizations and hoping that they make a connection there. Even worse, sometimes it's outsourced to some third party in the, offshore somewhere. So that really doesn't make sense to me. It's not engaging for the customer. So we need to intrigue them with something that we say, get them to lean forward and say, oh, tell me more about that. And then we can have a business conversation that leads to a sale. So with your permission, I'll move on and talk about each of the 10 touch points in more detail. Yeah. And again, just a reminder, have a look at the attachments and type in your questions here. I'll be happy to answer them. So just bring it. All right. So here we go. Number 1 is to have a tagline, a motto, or a one sentence that tells your prospective customers exactly what they can expect, what experience they can expect from doing business with you, right? So some people call it a brand promise, but it just says, what's it like doing business with you? And let me give you an example. So one of my customers in the States said, they're in, go back to here. They're an IT business, a small, medium IT business. They look after mid-market clients, do their backup and restore and, basic stuff. But we thought, what experience do their customers have when they do business with them on a daily basis? And the answer we came to, the tagline we came to, or the motto or the brand promise we came to was, we've got your back. It immediately conveys to the buyer saying, these guys are on my side, they're going to help me. And when something goes wrong, or if something goes wrong, they're not going to point the finger and say, my dog ate my homework and I can't help you, or it's the other guy's fault, or whatever, right? They're going to be shoulder to shoulder with you and help you to get back up, get your business back up online, or restore your data, or whatever it is. But we've got your back is the motto, right? And another one is a consultant that actually deals with sales technology, and he advises his clients in terms of what technology they should use and what parts of the technology stack they can automate and so on. And for him, we came up not with a sentence, but we came up with a 3-word slogan. And the slogan was competent, fast, friendly. So he was resisting to the friendly initially until he understood that he himself buys from people. People buy from people. And he himself understood that he would rather buy from somebody who he feels he can work with and who he gets along with than somebody who's competent but difficult to deal with, right? So since he's used that 3-word slogan, he's actually closed a whole bunch more clients, and he's changed his website around. So there's a lot of images of him there making it very personal, him smiling and being friendly. So people said, yes, I want somebody competent. Tick. Yeah, definitely. No brainer. I also want fast results. That's good. But I also want to get along with them. I want to enjoy this experience. So if they're friendly, that is good. So sometimes you see that the brand promise doesn't have to be a sentence. It can actually be just a bunch of words, like a 3-word slogan. Okay, so let's move right along. Number 2 is basically you need to be very clear about what you're selling. The common wording is that a confused mind says no. So if your customer is not clear, they go, oh, I don't understand it. I don't want to ask questions. That makes me feel stupid. So I'll just go somewhere else where it is clear. So your customers need to understand exactly what it is that you're selling, and whether you have products or services or even productized services, doesn't matter. You need to be crystal clear about what you're selling. So that's kind of a no-brainer, really, right? It's no rocket science there. Okay, this one is probably the most misunderstood part of the 10 success points. You need to have a value proposition that helps you to stick out from the crowd. Now, this is different from the tagline and your motto, because the motto was about how the customer feels when they're doing business with you. This is about what's in it for the customer, right? So what makes your business different? How can you intrigue your customers? What's the one thing you can say to them and make them lean forward and say, tell me more, right? And so you need to have a value proposition that not only differentiates your business from everybody else, but also that intrigues the client. So they go, oh, that sounds really interesting. Tell me more. So this, I can give you some examples if you want. Just type it in to the questions and let me know. All right. Next one. Moving right along. Now, we need to know, if we want to be successful in business, we need to know exactly who our ideal prospects and customers are. So we need to know what industry are they in, what size business are they, what geography are they in, what are the specific job titles within the organization that we want to target, what makes them tick, what interests them, what content do they consume, what experts do they listen to, all those things. So basically we need to create ideal client personas. Now, marketers have been talking about client personas and customer personas for a long time. It's nothing new, but you just need to be crystal clear about who it is. Now, the next one, of course, once you know who it is, you want to know where they are. So where do they hang out? And often the answer is, oh, well, they're on LinkedIn, right? So this is, again, where LinkedIn is a great tool to find your ideal clients. And it's a great tool to reach out to them on a platform that they have joined and you have joined, so you have something in common, and maybe you even have connections in common. But be very careful about how you reach out to them, how you engage with them. Now, there's this great term that I heard last year for the first time, and that's pitch slapping, with a P, pitch slapping. And it is when somebody says, oh, look, we've got all these connections in common. I'd really like to connect with you. Would you be okay to connect? And people go, yeah, okay, I'll connect with them. And then bang, next thing they go, here's what I want to sell you. Yeah, and everybody hates it. I don't know why people still do it. It just turns everybody off from connecting with people in the first place. So if you're in sales, please don't do that anymore. Try to engage with your clients. Use your value proposition to engage, which then brings me to the next point, which is that once we know who our ideal clients are, and once we know where they hang out, we need to know how to engage with them, right? How do we not just access them, as I said, but engage with them? So you need to use your killer introduction line or your value proposition to say something that intrigues them and makes them lean forward and say, tell me more about that. So that's how you access and engage them. So this is probably, together with the value proposition, this is probably the most important point in the 6, because in the 10, because the subject of this talk is opening is the new closing. And I would even challenge your thinking and say, if you open right, the closing will take care of itself. Because once they're leaning forward and saying, tell me more, they have acknowledged that you are an expert in something that and you know something that they don't know. So you can actually be the trusted advisor, as much of like cliche as that has become. But if you want to be seen as a trusted advisor, then you really need to intrigue them and make them understand that you know something that they don't know. So that could be, how do you engage them? So that could be, make them aware of an opportunity they didn't know they had. Or conversely, make them aware of a risk that they're exposed to they didn't know about. So use either the risk or the opportunity/benefit perspective to intrigue them. Right? So don't say what the risk is, don't say what the opportunity is, but say what it results in for them. So for example, did you know that you can improve you can speed up your sales cycle by 10%? You probably want to put a bit more meat on that bone, but it's the outcome that you need to sell, not the how. You need to sell the what. Or you say, now we find that clients like you often are exposed to a risk that they don't know they have. And it costs them millions of dollars a year. Or what risk? So you want to get them to ask a question and you want to intrigue them, not sell at the first point of contact. All right, so I hope that makes sense. Again, type in your answers or type in your questions. I'd love to answer them. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Here we go. So now we've understood who our ideal customers are, where they are, we've reached out to them. Now, very rarely will we be the only one in the race to a deal. So there'll be competitors in there vying for the same business. See this picture. Now, never ever talk badly about your competitors. It just reflects poorly on you. So we have a way to make our competitors less relevant to our customers. And that is, again, by intriguing them and by telling them something that they don't know about, right? So here's the thing. How do you eliminate your competitors? I'll give you a practical example. This is part of my 6, 10, or 20-week sales acceleration program, and this is what I teach my clients. So I'm giving you some of my tips here. Okay, so the way it works is that you want to bring up a subject that your competitors will try to avoid talking about. And that subject is the subject of customer risk. So I recommend you consider saying something like this. Now, you don't have to use these exact words, but try to say something that sounds natural and is compliant with your personality. So you say, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, would you agree that in every business decision that you make, there's an element of risk involved? It's a rhetorical question. Of course, they're going to say yes. Oh, I don't know where you're going with that, but yes. So then you say, okay, so would you agree that in this case, that there's an element of risk involved for you in making this particular decision that we're talking about here, like buying this product or service or solution? And they would say, well, yeah, there is an element of risk, for sure. Here's the thing. Then you say, so acknowledging that there's an element of risk, would you like to know the exact risks that you are exposed to in making this decision, regardless of whether you're buying from us or from anybody else? Would you like to know what risks you're facing in making that decision? They're going to say, yeah, for sure. Of course, I want to know what risks I'm exposed to. So then you say, okay, so would you like to know how we at our name organization help our customers to mitigate that risk? Of course, they're going to say yes. Again, rhetorical question, but important, right? So we've led them to say there's risk. We've understood that there's risk in general, there's risk in particular, and now we're saying, okay, how can we help you to mitigate those risks? How do we help our clients to mitigate those risks? And then you say all the things that can go wrong and how you mitigate the risk. So, for example, the most basic fundamental thing that lowest common denominator that works for everybody is to say the biggest risk is you spend your money and you don't get what you paid for. Right? So here's how we ensure that our customers, our clients, get exactly what they paid for and sometimes even more. And then you tell them about your quality assurance process, your money back guarantee, your testimonials, your success stories, and so on. So there is a way to bring up a subject that's unpalatable for most people, but to actually use it to eliminate your competitors, because they're not talking about risk. Most of your competitors will say, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, there's no risk here. Look at our track record. We're great, right? Nothing to see here. But you're saying, no, there is risk. But in our organization, here's how we mitigate that risk for you because we care. And because you have been the only one who brings up proactively the subject of risk, they go, wow, this person is telling me about risks. Nobody else has mentioned that to me. So I'm starting to trust this guy more than the other guys, or girl, sorry. So I hope that makes sense to you, because it's super important to fending off your competitors. All right, the next one, let's say we've fended off our competitors and the customer says to us, send me a proposal. All right, so I always say that you can get, when the customer asks you for a proposal, you can get an unfair advantage, and you can end up having 2 or 3 bites at the same cherry and give yourself, like I said, an unfair advantage to win the deal. Now, that is not about what goes into your proposals. It's all about how you present the proposals. It's all about the process that you use to send the proposal or to provide the proposal for the buyer. Now, this technique is again taken out of my 6, 10 or 20 week sales acceleration program. But it is very effective as long as it's not a tender situation. Because a tender situation is super tied up and everybody has the same questions and you're not allowed to talk to anybody, and it's all going to be fair to everybody else. So you can't really get an unfair advantage. But if it's an RFP or a shootout or just a one-off proposal, it works really well. So here's how, and one of the clients' testimonials that I showed you earlier actually used this technique in one of the first sales conversations after we went through the 6-week program, and they won a multi-million-dollar deal through that. So let me tell you how it worked. The customer came to my client and said, look, we've got a new project, a big one, like I said, a multi-million-dollar project, and said, can you send us a proposal? But now they had dealt with them before. They were not a regular client, but they had dealt with them before, so they kind of knew what they were getting. So they said, look, just send us a proposal. And ordinarily, my client would have sent a proposal through and then gone, okay, what now? What? You know, we all know that once the proposal is sent to the client, we lose control as the seller, because they can now take their sweet old time. They can come back to us or not come back to us. Then we as sellers get a bit nervous and we go, oh my God, they haven't responded. Have they read it? Have they looked at it? Have they already decided? And we start to get a bit antsy about it. And then we want to follow up. And we go a bit like, follow up, tell me what's happening. But it makes us look desperate. So the point is, once we send the proposal off, we've actually lost control of the deal. All the power is moved to the buyer. So here's how you can get yourself two or three bites at the same cherry. And this is what my client did after I advised them to do this. So they said, yes, Mr. Buyer, in this case it was a male, we would love to send you a proposal. But it is very important to us that our proposal meets your expectations. Our proposal meets your requirements, hits the mark, whatever. It's very important to us that we do the right thing for you, Mr. Customer, and make sure that this proposal is exactly what you're looking for. So therefore, can we meet at 2 p.m. on Thursday to go through the draft together to make sure it is exactly what you're looking for? This client said, yeah, sure, of course we can. Now, because it was a multi-million-dollar deal, the client brought their entire executive team to this review, to this proposal review. They spent more than 2 hours together going through the proposal almost line by line and practically helped my client to write the proposal for this client. At the end of the 2 hours, they had invested so much time, energy, and, dare I say, emotions into helping my client to write this proposal, that they firstly wouldn't have done the same thing for anybody else again, because they already spent enough time with this one. They knew exactly what to expect when the proposal was formally submitted. And so it was kind of a no-brainer that my client got this multi-million-dollar deal just by using a little technique that said, it's really important to us that we do the right thing for you, Mr. Client. So therefore, can we just go through the draft together? So it's a tiny little technique, but it has an enormous impact on your sales success if you use it right. So that's how I teach my clients to use the proposal process to win deals. So now, don't get me wrong, what goes into the proposal is super important, but just sending it off and then crossing your fingers is not a great strategy. So this one works better. Okay, so then let's look at the next one. So this is, you've won the deal and you want to make sure that your customer comes back for more. So what you don't want is, is this picture here on the screen. What you want is that you give your customers a great experience pre, during, and post the sale. Yeah. So you want to make sure that they have a great experience in from your business, because then they give you repeat business. Now, I teach my clients how to give them a good pre, during, and post buying experience so that they get more repeat business. And then let's look at number 10, last one. If you give them a great buying experience, not only will they come back for more themselves, they will also recommend their friends, colleagues, and contacts to also buy from your business, because you've given them such a great experience, right? So that makes total sense to me, that you think about how your customer experiences your organization. And I mean just not just the sales rep. I mean what they see on the website, what they see from your delivery people, even your accounting people. Why? Because if your customer receives one bad invoice, one wrong invoice, one credit note that doesn't come through, whatever it is, even though finance never sees the customer, they still have an interaction with the customer that the customer can gauge you by and judge you by. So you need to take a leaf out of Jeff Bezos's book and say, whatever you do, do it with the customer in mind. And also as a side benefit almost, focusing on the customer helps rally all your different teams to come together as one and focus on the same thing. And it'll help the collaboration within your business. All right. So what you want to do is to move from selling in an inward looking way that looks at how we want to sell and what we want to sell, to being focused on how the buyer wants to buy. And yes, there are 10 points in this 10 success points in this buyer-focused sales funnel, but they range from something that is in the realm of marketing to something that's in the realm of sales and everything in between. But it's all focused on helping them to make an informed buying decision to buy from you. Now, that last part is very important. You want them to buy from you, not just educate them, but you also still want to sell. So you've got to help them to buy from you. And I've given you some tips in terms of how that works. And like I said, I've got a 6, 10, and 20-week program to help you get there. Okay, so if you want to know whether you're already selling with a buyer focus, then do this free test. It takes 10 minutes. Take a screenshot, and afterwards go to peterstrohkorb.com/sales-acceleration, and you will in 10 minutes discover how close you are to selling in a buyer-focused fashion, or whether you're still selling in a seller, a product and service-focused fashion. So do that there. Plus, also, you will have seen that I've got my contact details there, so you can connect with me on that. And speaking of connect, you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. All right. So this is the last slide that I've got, and I hope that it all made sense to you, that you need to intrigue, engage, and get the buyer to lean forward at the first point of contact and get them to ask, tell me more. Because opening is the new closing. So with that, I'm happy to take your questions if there are any. Type them in, please, and also give your first name if you do ask a question. I'll be happy to answer them. If there are no questions, I encourage you to reach out to me, connect with me on LinkedIn, reach out to me via email, send me a text, whatever way you want to do this test, and we can talk about your specific responses within the self-assessment test, and talk about your business specifically. I'll give you some free advice and guidance if you want, and if you're a sales leader or a business owner or a business leader. So with that, I hope that you enjoyed the program. I'll see you around next time, and please be in touch. I'll love to help you sell more faster, which is my business motto. Have a great afternoon, a great night, a good evening, a good morning. All the best from Peter Strohkorb, signing out. Thank you very much.